I have to say that most games that Nintendo has been putting out lately have been high on my want list. The exception to this is Star Fox. The new Star Fox, when they first showed it, I was a little leery of it. Miyamoto was showing it at E3 a couple years ago, I think. And there was a picture floating around of him showing it off, and he was holding the Wii U gamepad up in front of his face while he played it, and that just didn't look comfortable to me. I was like, well, maybe we'll see what happens there. Now, fast forward a year, the next E3, Star Fox is the center of Nintendo's messaging for E3 this year. And again, they had this two-screen thing going on where this is a game that could really only be played in this way on the Wii U, because it has the advantage of that two screens. I still don't think of it as an advantage, though, because Star Fox for Wii U doesn't look very fun to me. First off, the graphics, and graphics for me are really the least important part of a game. The most important part of the game is the gameplay, but the graphics almost look like, and let me preface this by saying I've not seen the game in person, and quite often, when you look at a game that somebody is like shooting a video of over YouTube, the game doesn't look as good. But when I was watching Star Fox, it felt like they had made a design choice to emulate the look of Star Fox 64 rather than make it look more high def or more polished. So they were going for this in Nintendo 64 look to maintain continuity between the games. And that's a design choice. But when I look at the game, it just doesn't look very impressive visually. It looks low poly. And that's not something that you want your game to look like in today's very, very competitive market. Now, graphics aside, because, as I said, graphics are the least important part of a game for me. The gameplay that they were showing off does not look fun for me. So, up on your TV screen, Star Fox, or not Star Fox, the R-Wing is flying around, and you can see a more cinematic view of the combat that you're currently in. And then on the gamepad, you're seeing like a first-person view or a cockpit view, and you can turn and shoot in one direction with the gamepad while flying in another direction with the TV. Now, that sounds cool, but when watching somebody do it, it looked like there was a real disconnect there. And yes, that could be because the person who I was watching had not played the game before. It was unfamiliar to them. But when you look at it, it doesn't look fun. And holding your hands up in order to have this targeting thing up in front of you, I can see how you're going to get what people call gorilla arm. I don't know why it's called gorilla arm, but I guess the term was coined when, I think it was Steve Jobs that actually coined the term. I'm not sure. But he was talking about how touchscreen laptops are not a great idea because you're constantly bringing your arm up to touch the screen. Whether or not he actually thought that or not is beside the point. I do agree with that idea that touchscreens are not meant to be vertical. Okay? And reaching your hand up to do this something over and over at a vertical screen is uncomfortable, and your arm's going to get tired after a while. Well, when you're using the Wii U controller as a targeting computer, I guess, and you're standing there or sitting there, and I almost think that this game would be better played standing up, so you have more freedom of movement to turn left or right, or even maybe behind you. Which all sounds really cool, but I can't imagine holding my arms up for any length of time and enjoying the game. Back when I was in the Army, that's how they would punish us. They would have us hold our arms up and set our rifle across our arms. And, if you dropped your rifle, you got in big trouble. So that's probably, that's a punishment, holding the Wii controller up. And Nintendo's always been weird about stuff like this, where they're like, every 15 minutes when you played a Wii game, they were like, hey, why don't you take a break? You've been playing for a long time. Well, guess what? People like to play games for a long time. Ooh, my voice is getting a little cracky there. It's early in the morning when I'm recording this, so if my voice sounds really weird, that's why. But Nintendo's always been like that. Hey, go take a break. The game will be here when you get back. And you know what? They're right about that. But I can see where I'm playing Star Fox, and I will probably want to take a break before they even tell me to, because my arms are going to get tired playing that game. Either that, or I'm going to be jacked from playing Star Fox. It's one or the other, Well, now, why am I talking about all this? This was all at E3 a long time ago. Well, yesterday, and I didn't have a chance to record this yesterday. I wanted to, but I couldn't. But yesterday, Shigeru Miyamoto posted, Nintendo posted a message from Shigeru Miyamoto on Facebook. Ugh, that's hard to get through. I'm going to read the message to you. It says, "A message from Mr. Miyamoto regarding Star Fox Zero," which I forgot that's the new name of it. I just assumed it was going to be Star Fox U. Anyway, it says, "I made a big decision last week. We've been developing Star Fox Zero for the Wii U with the aim of releasing it this year." You know what? I'm going to stop right there. I made a big decision last week. I wonder if that phrase was put in there because this happened after Nintendo's new CEO was announced. I wonder if that sentence was put in there to take the public's view of, how am I going to say this? To eliminate the idea that the public would see this announcement and link it to the new CEO of Nintendo, Kimishima, I think is his last name. I forget. I don't have it written down in front of me. Now, my guess is if I think it's Kimishima, hopefully I'm saying that right. I think if Kimishima is, he was just appointed CEO, it's not like this is a surprise to anyone. And he's probably been in on meetings for this stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was part of the reason why this is delayed. And I don't blame him. I don't think that this is a bad thing. But let me get back to the message and I'll talk more about that in a second. All right. Made a big decision last night. Okay. We have been developing Star Fox Zero for the Wii U with the aim of releasing it this year. Although we felt that the development had been progressing well, we now believe that we need a little more time to work on areas such as the unprecedented discovery that we want players to experience in this game by using 2 screens, and further polishing the level designs and perfecting the tone of the cutscenes. While we have already reached the stage where it would be technically possible to release the title in time for the year-end holiday season, we want to polish the game a bit more so that players will be able to smoothly grasp the new style of play that we are proposing. To the people looking forward to the launch of the game this holiday season, I am very sorry. Star Fox Zero is going to bring the new gameplay and experiences that take it far beyond the framework established by Star Fox 64. All the members of the development team are doing our best so that the final product will not betray your expectations, and the game will not be delayed for a very long time. We're aiming to launch the game in Q1 2016. Please stay tuned for further announcements. All right. Now, before I go any further, and as soon as I saw that it was delayed, immediately this quote came to mind, and it's hilarious, but that is... Whoa, my screen just turned off. It's hilarious that the first thing, or the first comment on Nintendo's post on Facebook here is from Kyle Mitchell, and he's quoting Shigeru Miyamoto here. He says, "A delayed game is eventually good. A rushed game is forever bad." And that's how I feel about this news. There's nothing wrong with Nintendo delaying a game to make the game better. Every time I have played a game that has been rushed to market, it's been a disaster. And Nintendo, I'd say there's probably very few developers in the world that do this the exact right way. 3 spring to mind immediately. Nintendo is one of them. They will delay a game or completely scrap a game if it's not up to par. All right? They're showing that they're doing this here. They're delaying Wii U, although we'll talk about what I think about that in just a second. The second is Blizzard. Blizzard has repeatedly delayed games that weren't ready, and they put out games with so much polish that nobody can say anything about them because they're so well done and so polished. The only thing you can say about a Blizzard game is that it's not for you. You can't say that they're bad because, and I know games are subjective, but I can't imagine anybody saying that a Blizzard game is bad. Now, there are people out there who don't like World of Warcraft, but I would never say it's a bad game. I don't currently play World of Warcraft anymore, but I think it's a phenomenal game. It just isn't for me at this point in my life. The third that comes to mind is Valve. Valve will polish a game over and over until that thing is just a beautiful, shining star. Look at Half-Life 2. You know, that game is amazing. It is an achievement. Portal 2, an amazing game. Now, Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, I didn't play those. But the other ones I love. And Valve does really, really great work. Dota 2, I haven't played that, but, you know, it's pretty popular. So I'm going to guess it's pretty good. So those 3 game companies spring to mind when I think of companies that will delay a game for the right reasons. And when we look at the right reasons for why these games are being delayed, sometimes I also think Nintendo is delaying these games for a different reason, and a reason that they're not telling us. And that is because they know that the Wii U is on its last legs. Now, I don't think that that's what's happening with Star Fox. I think Star Fox was the pillar of their winter releases. They needed it in there. Right now, if you ask somebody who knows anything about the gaming industry, they will tell you that Nintendo has a dearth of games out there right now. There's nothing. There's no new games coming this fall for a wide audience. Yes, there are a few games coming out, but most of them are not for a wide audience. Star Fox was supposed to be the tentpole that lifted everything else up. You know, you position a big game right there in the middle and you surround it with a supporting cast. And now it's gone. I think that they're delaying Star Fox because they have to, because they need to get it polished so that it's good, so that it doesn't completely flop. Zelda, on the other hand, I think they're delaying because, yes, they could have put it out this year, but Zelda's a big deal, and I think that they looked at their track record with consoles, and they said, you know where we've gone wrong in the past is we have said, let's put out a console and not have a Mario or a Zelda game ready to go with it. And every time they've done that, that console has bombed because not enough people picked it up because it didn't have the exclusives. And then because not enough people picked it up, we ended up having the third-party developers ignore it. So Nintendo doesn't want to launch a console without a big hitter to come out with the console. They need something to sell that system, and Zelda is going to sell that system for them. I think they're delaying Zelda for the reason, not because the game needs to be delayed for polish, but I think they're delaying it because they're pushing it to the NX. Star Fox is not a system seller. It never was. They're probably I think that they're delaying Star Fox for the right reason, because it needs to be delayed in order to be ready. I'll bet that Zelda would have been ready, but they decided we need that to prop up the NX so that people will buy it. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Star Fox Zero being delayed. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are, so let me know.